Today we discuss Alec Soth, a photographer well known for his work on American road culture, starting with Jack Kerouac. Since Jack Kerouac, the American road has been a constant theme, continuing in Sleeping by the Mississippi and other works. His books continue the same road tradition, so familiar visual echoes appear throughout. This method took shape in the 1950s, when Robert Frank made The Americans and opened the door to subjective documentary photography. Before then, photography was seen as fine art, a replacement for painting, leading many painters to switch to photography. It moved toward documentary photography, treating the camera as a medium to record reality objectively. People believed photography should follow objective reality, until Robert Frank proposed a different view. He argued photography is a tool for subjective expression, a language sparking an enlightenment in the 1950s. Two schools emerged: the window school, viewing the camera as a lens to the outside world. The other school saw the camera as a mirror, reflecting the photographer's inner thoughts and ideas. John Szarkowski, then head of the MoMI photography department, noticed this remarkable phenomenon. In 1967, he organized the influential exhibition New Documents, which is better translated as New Documents, rather than News Documents. The term documents has faced controversy. Earlier translations used documentary, but photography cannot truly reflect 100% of reality. Thus, documents is more fitting. As mentioned previously, this figure mentored Stephen Shore and others. He also championed Diane Arbus and other photographers who would enter the canon of American contemporary photography. With Diane Arbus, many remember Child with a Toy Hand Grenade. Her photographs of twins later influenced Kubrick's The Shining. Even American Horror Story Season 4 in 2014 drew heavily from her work, showing how ahead of its time contemporary photography remains. Many say they do not understand contemporary photography simply because the timing is not yet right. It always anticipates the era's aesthetics. Works from 1967 were not adapted into film until over a decade later, yet full public understanding took another 10 to 20 years. It was not until nearly 40 to 50 years later, when such images appeared in popular American television dramas, that they gained widespread recognition. True avant-garde artists create work you may not understand now, but you might in 50 years. Just let time age you. Moving to the 1970s, we reach Stephen Shore. As discussed previously, their greatest contribution shifted from grand narratives to daily life. By 1976, new color photography had reached major exhibitions. Visually powerful, work also sparked intense controversy. Critics dismissed them as sensationalists, yet color photography finally entered the art world seriously. In the 1980s, Joel Sternfeld focused on American landscapes, continuing his earlier themes of personal perspective. His famous images, like the pumpkin firefighter and the burning house, contradict reality to express subjective intent. Sternfeld was Alec Soth's teacher. Regarding Minnesota, many think of a Chinese person or recent news. Sternfeld became Alec Soth's teacher. That brings us to Minnesota, the state where Soth began his career. Minnesota is smaller and less prominent than New York, with brutally cold winters, yet many artists have made quiet work there. Alec Soth, a quiet photographer educated in New York under a master, did not follow Stephen Shore's path in life. He took ordinary jobs as a reporter, assistant, and darkroom technician, sticking to steady work. Still, he held on to his artistic dream and kept working, the kind of grind people now jokingly call the 996 life. By 2004, after nearly a decade, supported mostly by local grants, he published Sleeping by the Mississippi. The project succeeded massively, becoming a phenomenon overnight, distinct from his earlier work. If introduced now, he would say, "I am Alec Soth, 33, an ordinary office worker." During this time he suffered soul-crushing pressure, realizing human ability has strict limits. From commercial photography, he learned that treating hobbies as jobs reveals their true boundaries. He decided to transcend daily routines and become an artist rather than just a practitioner. In 2013, he won the Guggenheim Fellowship, unlike Shore, who received it at 27. This ordinary small-town young man eventually made it to New York, like moving from a small city to Beijing or Shanghai. He earned a photography degree, but after graduation, unable to afford city housing, he returned to his rural hometown to find work again. It is an ordinary person's struggle, and worth learning from. This is Soth's public side. Privately, he was deeply introverted. As a child, he played only with imaginary friends. Drawing from these inner feelings, he created his work Broken Manual, which we will discuss later. His relentless pursuit of photography also created more opportunities for human connection, moving beyond simple, detached shooting. To make his subjects appear happier in photos, he even studied Indian laughter yoga specifically for this purpose. Next, let us follow his creative journey. First, we examine his lesser-known work, Dog Days, Bogota. This project reflects his thoughts on life, family, and the city, building on his earlier reflections about marriage and personal growth. He believes photographers have a high divorce rate, so do not combine marriage, children, travel, and art, as it is extremely complicated. He met his wife, Ray, at 16 and married after college. However, as a freelance photographer, he often left her at home while traveling. He would drive around to shoot, entering a state of loneliness and sharpness necessary to maintain his artistic inspiration. By 2003, to preserve a sense of family, he traveled to Colombia to adopt a little girl. In this city, his subject became stray dogs and children, symbolizing hope, reflecting his inner world. He aimed to capture the beauty within hardship. Historically, masters like Kudelka shot strays. Their work shows a wild spirit. Elliot, also a Magnum photographer, captured dogs with humor and optimism. Dado Moriyama, influenced by post-war Japan's decline, photographed dogs that appeared fierce or troubled. Now, with Alec Soth, we see how his dogs convey specific emotions and states of being. He used dogs to represent orphans and adoption, viewing them as fragile children, launching a series. His photos of dogs, people, and children convey subtle moods. Viewers may wonder about his intent. Where does his creative logic lie? What exactly does he wish to communicate? Next, Sleeping by the Mississippi. He once shared his creative rules. This project spanned a decade, as previously noted. Over these 10 years, he documented life along the Mississippi and his travels. The river is America's mother river. Comparable to China's Yangtze and Yellow, his home state of Minnesota is its source, giving his work a native familiarity. Immersed in quiet silence, his images resist specific symbols or narrative, feeling more like intersecting dream time. Though anti-narrative, they follow a simple rule. One photo cannot tell a story, but can suggest key points. His approach was simple. Moving from here to there, he believed one photograph could not tell a whole story. For instance, a boy with a rooster might grow into a man, while the rooster lays an egg, creating a new image. If that man has a Superman tattoo, the next shot might feature an empty Superman costume, weaving the sequence together. These are his continuous related shots. Each time he shoots, he places his camera on the steering wheel. He arranges the sequence so the empty costume follows the tattooed man, creating a visual continuity across frames. Simultaneously, every session began with the camera resting on the steering wheel, anchoring the journey's perspective. He lists shooting ideas, connecting them to create his own work's content. Interested in sleep and dreams, he photographed many empty beds. These beds invite us to imagine their owners' fates, while details beyond them reveal life along the Mississippi. Whether leaving for big cities or facing family decline, these lives often end. For abandoned homes, he asks, what of these beds, what of these people, or does everything become unimportant? Like the American flag and Robert Frank's The Americans, these beds become key elements. He explores the imagination behind small-town youth dreaming of fortune in big cities. The struggle for ideals is a central symbol, leading him to photograph desire and fantasy. A man in flight gear holding two planes illustrates this thread, where sky and flight highlight the gap between reality and dream. These photos metaphorically suggest love and redemption, perhaps implying that everything matters. In the struggling town, only religion offers salvation, as seen in this image of Jesus in the corner. The sculpture appears nailed to a utility pole, suggesting a lack of faith, though interpretations vary by cultural background. He often forces himself into long conversations with subjects, saying photography creates a new connection between him and them. For instance, in this photo of an older woman, the picture in her hands becomes a bridge connecting them. She seems to see an angel shape there, while I do not. Such forms reflect the human heart. He also uses blurred text, like missionary and man, on a man's collar in the upper right. Yet the portrait was made in a prison, creating a visual dislocation. Is he a prisoner or a missionary who ended up incarcerated? This ambiguity offers endless imagination. For example, this sad woman waits in a bar, surrounded by a star and many hearts. Is she experiencing lonely longing or enveloped by love? This is the confusion he tries to create, leaving viewers to wonder about the true nature of these moments. Next came Niagara, centered on the great waterfall along the US-Canada border and its long history as a honeymoon destination. Yet it is also an ideal spot for suicides, as the massive falls constantly tempt people to jump and end their lives. He used this place as a source of creative inspiration, noting that while he felt no joy, he sensed a love for death. This oscillation between life and death within his own psyche created a profound impact. He engaged with many people and collected numerous letters, some abandoned in hotels or bars, using their descriptions to locate specific places. He became deeply interested in these bars and hotels, filled with desire and complex emotions, and began to curate his narrative accordingly. He removed the grooms, keeping only the brides, whose wedding dresses he likened to the mist rising from the falls, sparking numerous visual variations. Men in tuxedos appeared to attend a wedding, yet they were merely ordinary high school students, creating a deliberate dissonance. This method, known as appropriation, transforms content meant for scene A into a narrative for scene B through editorial manipulation. Many contemporary photographers have adopted this approach. He stated he felt deeply disappointed by Niagara, where all American brides are bought. As a honeymoon spot, it offers no surprises, perhaps the first disappointment in an American marriage. So what of it? It contrasts this grand natural landscape with human transience. The comparison seems to suggest Niagara Falls is an eternal place, while here, even where love begins, it is also where love fades. He contrasts fragile relationships with the apparently eternal falls. The place where love begins can also be where it disappears. After Niagara, his mood darkened and he wanted to escape. The next project asked how someone might withdraw from society. It became a kind of manual for escaping society. Weima has explained it well, so I will not repeat that discussion. He embodied this contradiction. Everyone thought he was happy, exhibiting honored with a home, children, and career. He had a house, but said he was lost about his future. So, while making these works, he constantly searched for solutions to his own confusion. Television made people stop sitting in front rooms. They now sit in backyards trying to hide from the world, lost in watching screens. Just as people today flee into endless phone scrolling, people become more lonely, more introverted. This method made him doubt his own photography more. Thus, any black and white images in these works seem to show Alec Soth's inner constant truth. He also used special techniques, like enlarging a film photo to show his inner tension and anxiety. Unable to sleep, he wanted to become a true filmmaker, projecting his inner turmoil onto an elderly man he knew. Photography could feel unbearably sad and oppressive. Looking for some fun, he founded the imprint, Little Brown Mushroom. Essentially, it was not a serious newspaper, but a nostalgic pursuit of the past, following his earlier work, Looking for Love. In that project, he photographed many daters, noting people grow more lonely, seeking connection only through dating. But this could deepen his isolation. With writer Brad Saller, he created the LBM Dispatch to report on contemporary American life. He said photography gives you an excuse to engage with the world. A lost cat, found on Christmas, could become an interview with its owner and rescuer. Thus, he could report surreal stories for his paper, safely transcending traditional journalism. In this project, I reached the limit of the genre and needed to return. He is a photographer who constantly shifts directions. Starting as a photojournalist, he later found the work oppressive to human spirit, turning back to being an artist. Work crushes the soul. Art crushes it again. To relax, he turned to aerial photography. He then acted as a reporter, traveling constantly, publishing his own newspaper. He also worked for the New York Times and other media, attending hundreds of events to find human connection. These materials became a book. In it, he removed news content. Only the photographs remained, emphasizing our basic desire for connection. He called the project Songbook. It feels like a by-mind record, maybe out of step with the era, but deeply nostalgic. It is not his signature work. It feels more like a product of his private nostalgia, using classical techniques from a photographer named Weiji. Weiji, the model for the film Nightcrawler, once installed police radios in his car and home. He photographed crime scenes with a flash, a controversial act that mirrors modern direct flash styles. This method resembles the direct flash style of modern photographers, hoping small cameras would return to spontaneous capture. He also sought to return to the feel of old newspapers and magazines through rapid snapshots resembling crime scenes. These works evoke nostalgia for the past and anxiety about the future, rooted in social life and alienation. His focus remains on human loneliness, whether mothers choosing toys for children or kids playing together. Loneliness persists, regardless of company, even amidst party noise and wild dancing filled with misunderstanding. This video took me a very long time to make, reflecting deep isolation throughout the entire creative process. I grew tired of capturing great images, having experienced a midlife crisis, and wanting to escape my own life. Anyone crushed by life seeks escape, even artists, and this is his work. After a long silence, he resumed in 2019 with his new project. I know how furiously your heart is beating. This collection serves as a culmination of his photographic journey, inspired by a fragment of a poem. This work is a culmination of his photographic journey, drawn from a fragment of a poem by its author. Or a representative of British Romantic literature, his poetry no longer tells grand stories but focuses on something very intimate. His goal is to feel a beating heart. Photography's purpose is no longer about likes, prizes, or awards. Instead, he creates meaningful work to move others emotionally, describing a symbolic space. To understand this, consider Tarkovsky. Tarkovsky exists between dream and reality, offering precise expression while evoking deep emotional resonance. He encounters diverse people, each with inner stories, responding through his lens to mirrors and windows. These mirrors and windows reflect both historical photographic traditions and his own inner constraints and creativity. His style gradually becomes distinct and bright, suggesting he finally found the softness and gentleness he sought. Regarding modern poetry, many Chinese know classical forms better, yet modern poetry often seems confusing to them. To some, it appears as random keystrokes, but modern poetry resembles jazz, abstract yet rich with meaning. It offers clear, open directions for reader interpretation, inviting personal engagement with its layered significance. It demands gradual appreciation, a pace hard for modern viewers. Yet poets must bury these truths. These small points form a web. Like any content creator, an artist must earn a living. One Chinese camera brand invited him to judge a competition. He selected images, fitting mainstream taste, a compromise. Like everyone, he must earn. Look at the photo he just shot. His models resemble vacant mannequins, dressed well, yet hiding his own attitude behind their faces. After entering the art world, commercial demands led him to Fashion Week's backstage, where he was assigned a task. He brought an 8x10 large Fernet camera, found photographers using all kinds of flash setups, and was removed by security within 45 minutes. His post-fame work diverges from ordinary photographers. Regarding large format, he holds distinct views. He finds large format rarely surprising and hard to focus. By the time it's ready, the subject has left. It is not an easy method. He chooses equipment fitting his vision, single frame for key photos, small cameras for speed. Clearly, he has found his own path on how life should be lived and captured. His way of working led him to found Little Brown Mushroom. His own imprint, self-publishing, gave him greater control over how the work appeared. It allows him to present his work freely. He sees online photos like cloud music, while books are physical albums. Exhibitions are like live concerts. These different media offer distinct ways to display his art and connect with audiences. If you've never created a book, try sitting with one. You'll find unprecedented joy. As Chinese viewers, we see this trend continue. Many Chinese photographers have returned to photography's documentary roots, though with varying tendencies. Some draw from the Düsseldorp school. Some borrow from Bernd and Hillebecker's water towers. Others use political metaphor or rediscover poetry in historical documents. These photographers have unique styles, yet they remain deeply influenced by historical masters whose legacies shaped their work. I've listed these influences as extended reading. After long hours of work, my worn-out state seems the best way to present Alec Soth. This episode isn't light or cheerful, but for me, it's the most honest presentation. Thank you for watching until now. Thanks for watching, and for liking, commenting, and sharing. See you next time.